every customer has a specific use case and a specific business outcome that they need to achieve. Not every manufacturer can absolutely do everything, nor should they. So they're all different, and there's no such thing as one size fits all, right?
All right, everybody, welcome to episode 2 of In the Hole with Tech-Gofer. I am your host, Nick Mulholland, the president of Tech-Gofer. Today, I am very excited about our guest, Josh Hazlehurst. And if you're unfamiliar with him, he's an absolute cybersecurity animal. He's one of our favorite people to work with on projects with clients. To give a quick bio, Josh is a versatile technologist with a rich background spanning multiple technologies throughout his successful career. In his current role, he's a fantastic educator and speaker and excels at making complex technologies understandable and engaging. With extensive experience in cybersecurity, cloud computing, and network management, he is a fantastic resource to any technology decision maker. Outside of work, he enjoys hunting, fishing, camping, and spending time with his family. I've seen you on the golf course too.
You have. Usually nobody sees my scorecard, but they see me on the golf course for sure.
I got an interesting question for you at the end of the show, which of course our 3 sections are: what are we drinking today? A candid technology conversation, and all things golf. But the title of this one, which I came up with, which is Cybersecurity Cutting Through the BS. And I'm really excited about that. So first off, Josh, what are we drinking today? What are you drinking?
So today we're drinking Michelob Ultra.
All right, watching your weight.
Yeah, I got to watch my girlish figure. And it's Arizona summer. It's 2,000 degrees. We live on the sun, and heavy drinks are not easy to do in this kind of heat. So usually I'll have a few light beers, and then I'll go to like a vodka iced tea for my summertime drink. That's kind of my go-to. Wintertime, it's different. I'll go heavier. I'll go Guinnesses. I'll go Crown Royals, stuff like that. But summertime, the heavy, sticky, sweet stuff, man, I can't do in this kind of heat.
I'm with you. I, unfortunately for me, went the opposite direction just because it's a unique drink from one of our events here in Tempe at the Santan Brewery. We have the Cinnamaple Breakfast Whiskey.
Oh.
If you haven't had, it is quite sweet, but it is very good.
Breakfast whiskey, dude. Mama said you can't drink all day unless you start in the morning. I like your style.
Yep, and being that we, for those of you that know that have come to our events or you'd like to come to our events, typical giveaway is a bottle of alcohol with an engraving. I chose to put Wake and Bake on mine, even though I really don't smoke marijuana, just because I thought it was funny. So on the breakfast whiskey, I thought that was appropriate. Anyway, so great. Well, cheers. Again, glad to have you on.
Absolutely.
So as I mentioned, and I specifically titled this Cybersecurity Cutting Through the BS because you're one of you've attended our events. You're a fantastic educator at the events, calling people out on things, educating people more so on things. I'm going to start at what might be the most obvious thing just from a time frame perspective. CrowdStrike. So tell us high level what happened. Tell us how they're remediating it. And if you're a CrowdStrike customer or, an MSSP, just give us a high level overview in your opinion of it.
Yeah. So CrowdStrike is a great platform, right? Endpoint detection and response. It's one of the best out there on the planet. Probably one of the highest adoption rates out there, other than guys like SentinelOne or Defender for Endpoint or whatnot, right? Great company, great service, great product, but it is what we call a technical control or a cybersecurity countermeasure. It's a tool in the toolbox, right? It's got AI engines that are looking at, things like, that endpoint detection and response, looking for abnormal things, anomalies, false positives, false negatives, right? Stuff like that. Again, great tool if I have, probably a good security operations team. A lot of people will buy products like this and, hey, man, these things are sending my team alerts and alarms, but oh my God, I don't have a cybersecurity team. So what are the alerts and alarms doing? They're just making noise, right? So a lot of the guys, they'll ingest that. They'll build a security team. They'll build a security operations center. These will get ingested into a SEM, into a security operations center with data analysts, data forensics, incident response teams, or whatever. If they don't do that, that's a huge risk, right, in a logistics and operations world, because otherwise it's just a big tool set. Well, who's looking at the wrenches and the screwdrivers and the hammers and whatever? You just have the monster tool set that just makes a lot of noise, right? So a lot of people make that mistake of, I need this technology, but I have a skills gap. I have a logistics and operations gap. I don't have manpower to do this 24/7, 365 eyes on glass type of scenario, right? So it's always best to do a methodology called risk transferences, transfer that risk to a third-party operator that's giving you that 24/7, 365 eyes on glass, that's managing those technical controls of your CrowdStrike, your SentinelOne, your Defender for Endpoint, whatever it happens to be, right? It's still a tool. So tools still take humans. And what happened in this instance is it was a software update that they did not test into a DMZ. They put it initially into production, and it basically broke the kernel that was running anything in the Microsoft operating systems world. So there you go, get the blue screen of death. Now, had I been attached to an MSP, MSSP with 24/7, 365 eyes on glass, they would have detected that, recognized it immediately, and instantaneously started taking all of the devices, all of my Windows operating system devices, and bringing them back to the older version. And now I get back to work. The problem was it took so long to figure that out. And then big enterprise operators, you had to do this manual reboot on every single machine. And the trick of the manual reboot wouldn't always work the first, the second, or the third time. So imagine you have thousands and thousands of servers, thousands and thousands of laptops and desktops running this EDR platform. This becomes almost an impossibility for anybody to do, and you couldn't do it remotely, right? Yeah. So there was a fix, but here's the thing, dude. We see this every day. You saw this not too long ago in the SolarWinds issue, right? Is, oh my God, throw away SolarWinds and get Kaseya, get Manage Engine, get whatever. Same thing here. End result, they're just going to get stronger for it. It wasn't a technical control issue. It wasn't it's a bad product or platform. You know, when I talk about framework and we talk about people, processes, procedures, logistics, operations, right? Proper format, run books, playbooks, incident response planning, business continuity planning and testing. Mm-hmm. But I just ran an update on a Friday night and went home. What's up? Yeah, that's a problem, right? So the risk was we missed an operational procedure that should not have been released in production right away without being tested, right? I was getting guys asking me all the time, man, said, did you do it? I said, heck yeah, man. It was my first day. And they were like, how'd you respond to it, Josh? I said, I grabbed my lunch pail out of the fridge and went home. I'm good. It was a logistics and operational risk. And people are going to mess up. It happens all the time, and it happens with every single company. At the end of the day, CrowdStrike's going to be stronger for it. They're going to harden their processes. They're going to harden their procedures. They're going to make sure they don't do this in a non-tested environment, yada, yada. They're just going to be better for it. So the people that are saying, I'm out, man, get me a different product, just chill. Hang out. Everything's going to be clean. Everything's going to be fixed. Now, there's going to be a lot of financial implications because a lot of these companies, these big companies that relied on CrowdStrike EDR World, right? CrowdStrike Falcon Compete, they lost a fortune, and they're going to want some financial payouts for that, right? Yeah. So I always say, and you hear me say it all the time, if you don't have a 24/7 SOC manned and staffed with eyes on glass, doing things all the way to resolve on your behalf in a proactive methodology instead of reactive methodology, you're doing it wrong. The hole in gap is not the tech, it's the logistics and operations. Tomorrow, another platform could have a break in it, but they get better as it goes. This one it was nasty, right? But AWS has gone down, Azure's gone down, everybody goes down. It's just now, how do you react to it, right? And how quickly can you get me back on? So I wouldn't say it was catastrophic to the company. I will say I bought some stocks, just saying. But I think they'll be stronger for it at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, from what I understand, Delta got hit real hard, and that starts to make sense that they had to reboot each individual machine, because I was at the Minneapolis airport and it was absolute chaos. And that was a full two days plus after that happened. So they had to cancel 4,000 flights. So to your point, CrowdStrike's not going to, give them a credit for the business that they lost. But I do think that that's something for certainly our listeners to consider as they make, cybersecurity decisions. And you've said this multiple times, but buying a tool set doesn't mean that you're managing it correctly. And so that's one of the things I've always liked with working with you is we're able to, great, not only can you delineate, okay, CrowdStrike versus a SentinelOne versus another, why should you go with CrowdStrike versus these other ones? And then it becomes cool. So now let's talk about how we're going to manage it. And are you going to go hire a team? Are you going to go hire? Are you going to build a NOC that you're now going to manage the tool set, or should we be looking to offload that?
Yeah. And you've heard me say it before, right? Is technicians aren't allowed to sign off on organizational risk. That's the C-suite. Technicians want the tools, but I go buy these tools, and I've heard your customers say, hey, how much is this one? How much is that one? How much is this one? Stop. What is the business outcome? Not what is the tool. What is the business outcome that needs to be hit in this specific use case? And if the business outcome is, I need incident response, I need all the way to resolve, I need 24/7, 365 eyes on glass. Listen, I can't just go buy a piece of software and think I'm protected, because I'm absolutely not.
Right. Well, and that you bring up a good point, which you talked about diverting risk, and I've got on here, which we've certainly had calls about, which is risk acceptance. So do you want to talk a little bit about both of those?
Yeah. So when we're talking things like formal framework, we like to talk to technologists and say, okay, for a second, let's take the blinky lights out of the equation. Let's take the manufacturer logo, the Palo Alto, the Cisco shirt, the Sonic Wall shirts. Let's stop with the colors and what we call the NASCAR logos for a second. And let's put our risk management hat on. If I do this, what is this business impact? Am I missing any holes? Are there any other organizational operational risks, right? If I buy things like endpoint detection and response, am I doing things like managed detection and response, network detection and response? Am I doing things like, ingesting those into a security event management platform? Am I doing things like security orchestration, automation, and response platforms? Is that go into people, right, that can actually eradicate issues? Or am I buying a tool? Well, I just want to buy the tool because boss man gave me a work order, said, go buy something. Here it is, man. I bought it. But I got a lot of organizational risk in here. And me if I'm a technologist, I'm not allowed to sign off on organizational risk. So what I'll do, or what I advise customers to do, is I'll say, okay, let's take that risk management and let's put that risk management hat on. Okay, I'm going to go buy this because boss man approved it. But if I buy this and I have organizational risk, I need to make sure the C-suite understands the organizational risk surrounding that technical control. And if they're going to say, hey, listen, you should buy this, but we don't have money for security orchestration, automation, and response. We don't have money for a SIEM. We don't have money for a SOC. Right. That's okay. Your baby is not ugly and you're not doing it incorrectly, but who's signing off on that logistics and operational risk? I can't as a technologist, but I do have to open the eyes of the C-suite and say, listen, we're going to buy this platform, but we do not have people to stare at this, to do anomaly detection, to do advanced threat hunting, to do eradication. Mr. Bossman, Mr. CEO, CFO, is that an acceptable risk? Is that a risk that we can mitigate internally by hiring staff, right? Hiring data analysts, data forensics guys, right? Most expensive way to do it. Should we outsource that risk transference, to a third party, what we call SOCAS operator, Security Operations Center as a service? Or again, is this an acceptable risk? But if this is an acceptable risk, I need the CEO, the CIO, the CFO to sign off on, I understand they're going to buy this technical control. I understand there's an organizational risk. I'm willing to accept that organizational risk. I'm going to put my name on the document and sign. I understand the risk. I'm willing to accept it. And now if I'm the technologist, I'm the system admin, I'm whatever, I can just go back to work because my feet aren't in the fire when something happens that is damaging to the organization, right? What technologists fail to do is they think it's not their place to go up the food chain and say, hey, listen, if I do this, there's a hole here. What are we going to do about that, right? They kind of let them just stay quiet and do what they're told. But I will tell you, and I see this all the time, is that C-suite didn't hire you, the technologist, to sit there and do patch management and run cables and do vulnerability management and do. The company hired you to figure out how to utilize technology to make me more money. And if you're not opening my eyes, the owner of this organization, to potential risks, I believe you're not doing your job at that point. So please open my eyes and let me determine if the juice is worth the squeeze. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I guess I'll let you share the most high level, high profile is probably the better way to put it, situation where the technologist, which was high up at a particular rideshare company, did not get, or they were told by their C-suite, hey, we're not going to approve everything that you're asking for in your security budget. Yes, there are holes. And being that they were, correct me if I'm wrong, publicly traded, when an incident happened and the C-suite still told that technologist, go fix it, and we're not going to put it in documents, it wasn't the C-suite that got in trouble.
No, it was me, because I went, if I was the customer, I went to the C-suite and I told them this was an issue. This is what happened. We need to let our customers know this is exactly what happened and this is exactly why. And my boss told me to shut my mouth. So I did, because I wanted to protect my salary. Well, guess what? I'm on the hot seat, not him. I did not have an acceptable risk signature document from higher ups. So it almost sounded like a cover up. But listen, if you're making $250,000, $300,000 a year as the chief technologist of some of these enterprise companies, chances are you're going to do what you're told. I will too, with a signed document
Well,
from above my pay grade. You know what I mean?
100%. And I was going to say, I think where the rubber hits the road is, I don't care what salary you have. Are you willing to risk that you may have to go to jail in the fact that you've identified problems? And if the plan that you've put out with is now shut down by your C-level and is also they're not agreeing to accept the risk, that's on you. And I think that's something that a lot of, I mean, it could be the CISO, it could be the CIO. I mean, we could go down the road of titles, but like they really don't know that they are the ones on the hook.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not saying, see something, say something, be a whistleblower. I'm not saying that at all, but I am saying protect yourself from yourself, right? I mean, get somebody. If you're my boss and I tell you, boss, we need this, and you tell me, no, it's not in budget, I need to make sure I have some kind of paper trail of you telling me no. I'm not the one getting in trouble for you, man. This is your organization, not mine. I just work for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we're running good on time, but I have a question that's kind of a big one, which is your day to day. I mean, and you have all sorts of accolades, which I'll let you maybe mention a few of them. Your day is meeting with different cybersecurity vendors from an engineering level, learning about the product sets and the tool sets that they're using, understanding why they're good at managing said tool sets and all the things that they do, and more or less educating end user customers across other partners like us. What are some of the more unique cybersecurity solutions that you're seeing that have been brought to your attention in the last 6 months from said vendors and what have you?
Yeah, no, good question. And manufacturers, suppliers, right? Marketing outweighs architecture all the time. And go talk to a Palo guy, a Cisco guy, a Fortinet. Hey, we're perfect fit for every organization on the planet. No. Every customer has a specific use case and a specific business outcome that they need to achieve. Not every manufacturer can absolutely do everything, nor should they, right? And there are some unique things out there, but there's unique things in specific, what we would call target markets, right? Is specific thing for banking, specific thing for credit unions, specific things for the SMB market, specific things for 100% remote users using nothing but cloud SaaS-based services, right? So they're all different. And there's no such thing as one size fits all, right? You and I work with a lot of these players. I'm an SMB and I need MDR, EDR, SEM, SOC 24/7, get rid of my risk. And I'm an SMB, so I don't have a lot of budget, right? There's players out there that are perfect for that, right? Your Transmosis ones, your Coros, your threat protectors. I can go on and on. But a lot of those end users will go, well, I looked at, these enterprise, companies and oh my God, I can't afford it. Listen, you don't need it. And it doesn't need to break the bank to do proper cyber hygiene. Really what's going on today, especially in that SMB mid-market, heck, even enterprise, is integrating things like AI and machine learning into things like extended detection and response, managed detection and response, security orchestration, automation response, stuff like that, that they will automate and detect anomalies, learning specific environments, learning things like zero-day threats, learning things like attack surfaces, and they're learning it as it's learning your operation. So you're automating more and more of that. I need eyes on glass. I'll give you an example. I have a, say, a MDR, EDR, whatever platform, and I have this portal and it's showing me potential anomalies, potential threats, potential alerts and alarms. How do I know which ones are critical, which ones are catastrophic, which ones are false positives, which ones are false negatives? And I hear it all the time. Hey, I bought this product. I'm getting a lot of false positives. I'm getting everything. Yeah, because there's no automation built around it to where it's learning these business critical environments and then telling me what is critical or catastrophic versus, man, don't worry about that nonsense, right? So a lot of AI and machine learning is going into these products. We hear the word AI every day now, especially in your voice and your contact center and all this other stuff. And it seems like it's a new buzzword. In cybersecurity, it's not new. We've been doing this for decades. Now it's just a matter of automating that flow to where I don't have to be a data forensic scientist to understand what an anomaly looks like.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, if you're not using the AI, obviously you're not protecting yourself, right? I mean, if you're choosing companies where you're just buying that tool set and you don't have that extra AI add-on, I kind of feel like any customer is going to be just bogged down in alerts that they have no idea how to sort.
I'll give you an example. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus here or mention any names.
Hey, this is cutting through the BS, so you feel free.
Yeah. But there was a university, a private university in Colorado. The private university decided to buy a certain EDR vendor. Okay. We'll just call it Arctic Wolf for this one. Arctic Wolf is not bad. It's great, right? It does what it's supposed to do. Okay. We asked him the reason why he bought it is the Arctic Wolf salespeople, the marketing people, right, gave him all of the student accounts at no charge. So he said, "Oh my God, CrowdStrike won't do that. SentinelOne won't do that. Defender for Endpoint won't do that." I'm going.
We're not saying it's Arctic Wolf. We're just using that as the example.
We'll say that's an example. Sure. Yeah. So anyway, so the customer bought it. The customer implemented it. And I asked him, I said, "You have 5,000 students." And he said, "Yeah." I said, and this was one guy running cybersecurity for the entire university. Mm-hmm. And I said, "Where are all those alerts and alarms going?" He said, "Oh, Josh, man, you wouldn't believe it. The alerts and alarms I were getting as soon as I installed that were just, it was amazing. I had to turn off the alerts and alarms. I couldn't deal with it." So what is the tool doing again? Like literally nothing. It is not. So you got it because it was pieces of it were free, but they do absolutely nothing for the organization or the business outcome, right? My next question was, why didn't you add their SEM and SOC services? Oh, there was an additional cost to that. I said, you're just throwing away money. This became a technical control risk and turned into a financial risk because you bought a product that does absolutely nothing.
Well, and I was going to say the other component that, it's not the CIO or the technologist within an organization, the cyber liability component of that. So you bought a tool set, you didn't have the right frameworks, you didn't have procedures and processes written down. So if there's an incident, no cyber insurance policy that you're just wasting money on is ever going to pay on that. And that's, we actually have a project right now where, cyber liability insurance is we're actually going to have a future episode on this. It's a very confusing thing that, C-level, I think where I'll end it is, I think a lot of business owners, the C-suite, they know they need to have cybersecurity. They don't know where there's vulnerabilities, and they do need to make decisions based upon risk. But when it comes to these cyber policies, most of them are not paying out. It's still kind of the Wild West. They know that they should have insurance. And, again, when they're relying on a CIO or a CTO or a CISO to understand all the things about an insurance thing, that's quite different than how to run a network.
And it gets ugly, right? Because by default, an incident happens, I file a claim, instantaneous by default, claim denied. Now I have to prove that not only do I have all of these cybersecurity countermeasures, right? The technical controls, checkbox 1 through 12, I have to prove how I'm managing them from a logistics and operations standpoint too. I have to prove that I don't have misconfigurations. I have to prove that it wasn't an insider threat. I have to prove that that threat didn't come from social engineering from my gal that had a LinkedIn profile with a "I support Ukraine" flag behind her, and that's how the breach happened. And now, oh, by the way, that's called a state assist because there's a Ukrainian flag behind her profile. Worse than that, I saw this the other day, and I go through cybersecurity insurance processes and applications for clients all the time. I saw one, I think it was less than 2 weeks ago. It was a $5,000 cyber liability product. The customer thought they had 5 million. They thought they had 5 million in coverage. But inside the gaps and riders of that policy, only 100,000 of the $5 million policy had anything to do with the cybersecurity elements or incident response elements. So I got $5 million to do what with? Nothing.
Yeah.
So now that becomes a financial risk again.
Right.
Here we go.
Yeah. And again, I mean, I think certainly more of the projects that you've seen, but even the projects that we've collectively worked on, I mean, there's not a clear cut, hey, everything that we're doing now will pay out on this policy in the event that we have a problem. But what I've always appreciated about you and what you say is, and I know this isn't just with our clients, but we're not coming in and hey, everything that you've done is wrong and we need to replace it. Which if you go call a competing vendor to any of the different technologies we talked about, they're going to tell you that there are things better and that you need to get it. But
yeah, look at the market now. Oh, you're on CrowdStrike. Buy this, buy that, buy this. If you bought me, that wouldn't have happened. Stop. Nonsense.
Right. Yeah. But the hey, we can help you manage these tool sets that you've already made investments in. And ultimately, our goal is to help you be better at cybersecurity tomorrow, better than you are today. 100%. Because the other, I'll just kind of finish with that you said, which has always resonated with me, is cybersecurity is ever changing. It is not which this drives business owners, I know, crazy because I'm with a lot of them, is they want to, what's it going to cost me, fix the problem, and we're done. Cybersecurity is ever changing because criminals are ever changing. They're going after companies that aren't, the big boys like a CrowdStrike. They're going after mid-market. And I'm sure that you could probably talk a little bit more about, the hacks that you've seen and whatnot, but it ain't just the big boys. I mean, this is like small to medium-sized businesses. Even I, in a small organization, we've had 4 phishing attempts where they're using my name with a weird email. I mean, it's interesting how fast it's changing, which can be frustrating.
And you're right. There's not okay, what do I buy to give me total protection? That doesn't exist. What exists is that cyber maturity modeling of build it and get better every quarter, every 6 months, every year, right? Bring in another tool set, fill that hole in gap. Don't pay your $195,000 a year dude to do patch management and firmware updates. That makes absolutely no sense, right? Outsource some of that stuff so he can concentrate on bigger and better. And technologists get caught in the weeds a lot, right? So we gotta unhandcuff them, man.
Yeah, no, and I think, I've had the conversation with plenty of folks that have attended our events and whatnot. There is a growing difference between being an IT leader and an IT person that's doing the patchwork, plugging in, and kind of taking some of these larger, high level, where is our company going? What's our CEO's vision? How can I utilize technology to make that work? Whether it's we need to save money this year, we are in growth phase. And, I think that, we as a team have done really well in helping guide our clients to a lot of the solutions that are making them look good within their organizations. That's really our goal, Clay.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of and you hear me all the time. I say these words all the time: simplification and elegance. That is the goal, right? And anything we can do to help take some of the dirty laundry off of these organizations, that's what we're here for. Sometimes I'm the janitor. Sometimes I protect end users from themselves, right? But the goal is simplification and elegance.
All right. So I want you to give me the most elegant answer to this question. What is your favorite part about working within cybersecurity?
I think it's the educational aspect and the never-ending situation, right? I come from VARs and integrators, Cisco shops, EMC shops, you name it, right? And project-based, and as soon as I make my money on there, I'm broke again. I got to make another. This is never-ending evolution that I need to have consistent education myself, consistent certifications for myself, because I'm not evangelizing somebody's product, right? I'm helping customers get through this fear and complexity of, hey man, this doesn't have to be scary. I love the teaching aspect, the coaching and advising of, here's what you do. This is the right thing. Here's what you do. this will work, but there's a workaround. Here's what you do, but there's a whole bunch of holes and gaps. Mr. Customer, totally up to you, right?
Yeah.
Put your risk management hat on. You know, that's the part I like. I don't like the, tell me the difference between a Palo Alto and a Cisco firewall. I'll tell you the difference. But the first thing I'm going to do is ask about your staff and your certifications and your people and your processes.
Right. No, and I feel like that's a very, very big difference between us and VARs and some other different our competition, if you will, which feel free anybody to go on our website. We have a little chart that kind of delineates that. But we're definitely coming up on time, which Josh, it's always fantastic talking with you. We love having you at our events because you are just such a tremendously good educator on cybersecurity. So let's jump into a real quick quip about golf. So Josh, what do you think is the highest score ever shot in a PGA tournament?
Huh.
PGA,
you mean, are we talking Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Full PGA tournament.
An actual pro tour card carrying member.
Yep.
Mid 80s. I would got it.
How many over par did they end up?
Well, let's see, a par 71, 72 on a PGA course. So you got to think
4 days.
Oh, 4 days. So say I go 15 to 20 over every single day. So I'm talking, oh God, 80 over at the end of the tournament.
That's actually a really good guess. I would have guessed a lot lower. It is 93 over par for the weekend. Now, here's where the story gets wonky. This is no longer a rule. I think they changed it in 1976. Prior to that, though, the PGA had a rule that no matter what, if you don't finish the tournament the week before, you are not exempt or you can't play in the next tournament. So there was an individual named Mike Rezor, that in the 1974 Tallahassee Open, he shot his last two rounds 123 and 114, totaling 93 over par for the weekend, because he got thrown off of a horse after the second round and played those rounds with, tore rib cartilage, damaged knee ligaments, and separated his shoulder. And he went and finished the 2 rounds with one arm because he wasn't going to be able to play the next weekend to try to make money.
Oh my God.
That's how gnarly and tough the PGA used to be. Now they have a exempt rule, but that's a pretty wild story.
Yeah, what a horrible rule. I got in a car accident. You got to play anyway. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'll throw in another little quip. So I was lucky enough to go play a place called Craig Ranch, which is in Dallas, Texas. They have the Byron Nelson Open. And we played the Thursday after the tournament finished on Sunday. And I've been wanting to do this as a bouncing around between a 7 and 12 handicap. We played from where the pros play. And all the TV stuff was still set up, all the grandstands. It was actually a very, very fun round. And I played pretty good, and I shot a 97. Which,
from the tips, though, dude, and you don't golf every single day. Yeah, I mean, hey.
So, we'll get out there and do that. But, I mean, you think about a pro playing with one arm and shooting 114. I mean, that's not that far off. That's how ridiculously good all those guys are.
Yeah, years ago when I was in my 30s, I used to golf every single Sunday. And I got to the point I was probably low to mid 80s. Now I golf maybe once every 3, 4, maybe 5 months. And I'm telling you, it ain't mid 80s anymore. Mid 80s on the front nine.
Yeah, it's amazing how fast it goes. But listen, again, as always, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for inviting me.
Yep, you got it. And for those of you, we'll be putting up all of our event links. Hopefully, Josh will be joining us at some upcoming. Please follow us. Please subscribe. And otherwise, we look forward to seeing you at our events. Cheers. Goodbye from the Tech-Gofer podcast.
Thanks. Bye.